Hey, y'all. Welcome to Late Night with Bridget and Holly. I'm your host, Bridget.
And I'm your host, Holly.
And y'all, tonight we're going to talk about relationship order. But before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and look for us on any of your favorite podcast station. We're on every Tuesday and Friday night at 11 p.m. And y'all, tonight this is going to be a good one. We had a podcast the other night and we dove into this. Like, our podcast took a totally different turn, and we thought this
Yeah,
would
it
be a
did.
good topic to talk about. But it's called relationship order. And what that basically means is, like, we're not big, I'm not saying we're not Christian. I think we're both Christian, but we're not practicing Christians where we go to church every day. We're not trying to push God on you. But when we talk about biblical, it talks about the relationship order is supposed to be the husband or wife first, your spouse, and
Right.
then your children. Well, first God, then your spouse, then your children. But we're just going to talk about earthly relationships. And so basically, Holly had made a lot of answers where she said she would put JoJo, which is her daughter, first before her husband. So let's dive into that, Holly. But would you always put her first, or would there be scenarios that Jay comes first?
Depending on what the situation is, um, she'll always be put first, pretty much. It just depends on like what the situation is. Like if they got into an argument or something like that, even though, how can I put it? Like we both are over the punishing, dishing out, this and that or whatever, but I'm the main one. So, depending on the situation, like he could be punishing her for something, and if she was to get mad to come to me, I would be like, well, you gotta listen to your dad, or hear her out of what happened, see if the punishing is suitable, and so on. But 9 out of 10 times, she always comes first.
Okay. Pull back from your microphone just a little bit.
Hold on. Okay, is that better?
Okay, there. Yeah, this is a little better, huh? You don't
This
have to be
thing
real
picks up
close.
good.
It does. We're learning, y'all. We're getting our technical stuff in
Yeah.
line. Okay, so anyhow, for me, okay, I'm going to say that, and the reason I want to talk about this, and we decided to talk about it, is you're still in a time where you're raising your kid. I am in a thing where all mine are grown. Our oldest son is 35, which is my bonus son. I have a son 33, another son 30, and then my daughter that's 25. When they were young, I would tend to always put them first. And I would argue with Ronnie. We were in a lot of discord at the time my kids were growing up, because he had an idea of being a parent and I had an idea of being a parent, and I was much more lenient than he was. And so we butted heads a lot when it comes to the kids. And I always put my kids and their wants and their needs first.
Right.
But I will tell you, through that time frame, our marriage was the worst it's ever been. Now that my kids, we've always had a good marriage, but I'm going to say as far as the worst it's ever been because of arguments, because of the kids. In hindsight, retrospectively, I should have put my husband first and my kids second, because it caused so much discord between us. Now, I know you say you and Jay are on the same page and y'all do this and this and this, but at the same time, my husband come from a place, again, y'all don't know his past. I have never divulged his past. But I'm saying he come from a place to where he didn't want them to go down the same road he did. So he was really strict, especially with my boys, or our boys, because it's his son included. But the reason I say I wished I wouldn't have done that is because I put my kids first so much and caused so much discord in my marriage. And when your kids grow up, they venture away from you. They go away, and they're not the main part of your life anymore. And you have neglected what was supposed to be the main part of your life, which is your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the reason I feel that way. Now, let's say, for instance, like when we was talking about yesterday, we did the test your morality dart. And it's like, well, are you going to take out Ronnie or Sissy? You know what I'm saying? If you have to hit the wall, you can't stop, you're going to take out Ronnie. And I said, oh, absolutely, Ronnie. Well, why? He's supposed to be first. Well, the reason being is because he would say, take every parent's willing to die for their child. He would have
Oh
he would have
yeah,
said
hands
take him out.
down. You'll
Yeah.
always put your kids first in that situation.
Right, right. So
Mm-hmm.
if it come to saving their life, but I would say the same thing, save my child. I've had kids. I'm 53 years old. I'm on the second part of my life. She hadn't even got to live hers, so save her. But when it comes to um for instance, if you make supper, do you serve Jason and JoJo or do they go get their own food?
I fix his plate first and then everybody else's.
Okay, so you put your husband first.
Yeah, like growing up, I don't know, that's just how I've always done it. It's just that's what my mama did, and so anytime I fix food, like I tell everybody, y'all come on, it's time to eat. But as everybody's coming in, I'm fixing his plate for him.
Yeah, that's what I do for Ronnie. I
Mm-hmm.
always fix his plate. Now, if we're having something that maybe he don't, I don't, I mean, we've been together 20 some years. I know what he likes and don't like. But let's say, for instance, we're having something new I've made and I'm not sure what he wants and don't want. I may let him come get his first, but I always let him go
I
first.
Yep, I do that too. If I've cooked something and I don't know, like Jason, he has a lot of stomach issues, because he's got diverticulitis and diabetes, and so he deals with stomach issues on a day to day basis. Well, when he has a bad flare up and he's not feeling good, and I cook, that's usually when I'll let him come in and fix his food because I don't know
What
how
he
much he's
wants.
wanting. Yeah, and there's some times where I'll cook and he won't want to eat right then and there. So if he's not hungry, then I don't fix his plate.
Right.
He'll come in there and he'll usually fix his own plate, or I'll go back there and check on him and say, "Baby, are you hungry?" And he'll say, "Yeah, I could eat." And I'll say, "Well, okay, well, this is what I cook. How much you want?" Da 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 da. But yeah, he'll do that too because when you sick and don't feel good, you don't want to force food down somebody. So it's like you just be at your own pace and you get what you want.
Right. Okay, so let me ask you another question. Let's go here. Let's say, for instance, JoJo wants to go out on a Friday night
Uh,
and you're okay with her going, but Jason says no. Who's going to trump who on that? And don't give
we
me don't give me the whole well he's the dad I'm the stepmom. I don't want to hear that. I want to know truly who would get the
Oh
final
no,
say.
I wasn't gonna give you that to begin with because anytime anything like that happens, he gives me the final say.
Oh, does he?
We talk about it, and if there's somewhere like for instance, when she wanted to go to the football games, and football games are dangerous now. They have a lot of fights, shooting, stabbings, all kind of shit, and we both were kind of up in the air about, is it okay if she goes? Should we not let her go? But we come to a happy medium. We're like, okay, you can go, but we have to go with you. We won't sit with you, but we'll be there to watch over you so you can hang out with your friends and stuff. But anytime it comes down to like a final decision, he gets me to make the final decision.
Okay, but I'm just saying hypothetically speaking, what if your decision was different than his and he had his foot down? Would he trump you? Would you give in to him and just do what he says?
No, I pretty much would trump him, but we don't have that problem because we come to an understanding. There's never been, in the 15 years I've been raising her, there's never been, and I know it probably sounds weird, and I'm not saying, we're perfect, but for us, this just works. But there's never been an argument over what punishment or a yes or no has never caused an argument with us because he
Okay, right.
always tells me, he's like, "You're her mother. I trust your judgment. I know you got her best interest in heart." But when I make a decision, I also ask him to. Even though
Right.
I know I can say yes, no, or whatever, I still go and talk to him and I say, "Look, this is what's happened. This is the action I'm thinking of taking. Do you agree with it? Is there anything more you want me to do?" "No, baby. What you say goes. It's fine. What you got it under control, and I agree with you."
Right. But let's go like we're playing our hypothetically speaking. I know
But I
you're saying the
can't.
way it is.
It's hard for me to do that because we don't have that problem. Like, but I would be the one making the final decision. Like if he said no to something, and I think it will be okay, then and she would end up doing it. because I'll be
Right.
like, well, I don't
So
see
you would,
anything wrong with it.
right. So I guess I'm basically saying if you sided with her and he said something, are you still there?
Yeah. Something popped up on my phone for a verification code. I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay. So anyhow, so let's say for instance, what I was saying is if she wanted to go somewhere and he put his foot down and said no, and you decided you wanted to let her go, it would basically be her, she would win over him
Well, I
because you would side
mean,
with her. I guess is what I'm saying. Like I'm trying to keep us in that relationship order thing. Like in other words, if she wanted to go, he said no, but you were okay with her going, you would still side with her and let her go over his desires. Because so I'm saying in the relationship order, you would choose her wants over his.
yeah, depending on what
What
it
it
is.
is,
Like if it's something that I don't think is harmful, it's just so hard for me to answer that because he's not that person, and we're
right?
not that couple. So I mean, again, that's where I say like he lets me make the decision. So if I think it's okay and there's nothing wrong with what she's where she's wanting to go and stuff like that, then yeah, if I say it, then it happens.
Okay. So then let me ask you this. Again, we're hypothetically speaking. You have multiple children. Okay, let's say you're in a situation like me where you have a bonus child, you have your children, and then you have maybe one with you and him together.
Hmm.
Okay, how would you put the order of those kids?
That would all be the same.
Yeah, they are, but let's say for instance, I do treat all my kids the same. But let's say, for instance, you come down to, we're hypothetically speaking, you come down to a situation to where you have to choose the order of your kids. How would you choose them?
I would just choose them all the same. I wouldn't put them in a certain order. I would treat every
Okay.
single one of them the same.
Okay. So let's say, for instance, y'all are riding in the car. And we, y'all, this podcast was supposed to be helpful, not just I would just do the same. Okay.
I know,
So
but you're different than me. So the purpose of the podcast is
give
you would do things different than me. So they're
right.
hearing your side of your pecking order, and they're hearing my side of somebody who doesn't really have a pecking order because we don't technically fall into that category that some couples do when it comes
To
to
a kid.
children. And yeah, and the husband and wife don't agree or see eye to eye when it comes to the kids.
Okay.
That's
So
something we've never had.
let's go this route then. We're all riding in the car. You only two people can go in the front seat. One of them has to be you because you're driving. All the kids want to ride shotgun. Who gets to ride shotgun? You can't say all of them.
No, paper, scissors, rocks. They got to battle it out for themselves. I'm not choosing. You gonna figure it out fair and square. You gonna do paper, scissors, rock. You gonna do one potato, two potato. Y'all figure that shit out. I'm not gonna intervene and be like, oh, okay, well you're my real kid, and you come from my hoo ha, so I'm gonna put you in the front, or you're the baby stepchild, and you're just so little, and so for me, I'll be like, y'all figure that shit out on your own, cause Mama ain't choosing.
Right. Well, see, for
Mm-hmm.
us, the way we always did it is the eldest, whoever the oldest was, the eldest got to go first.
And
Okay.
that's a
And
good way to do it too, being the
right.
being the oldest to the youngest. Yeah.
Right. Because I felt like if you work a job and you have seniority, then you
Right.
trump other people.
Oh
So
hell yeah.
we would always say whoever's oldest. Like in other words, I'll give you an example. If Josh, our bonus son, was riding, he would get front seat.
Cause
Well,
he's the oldest.
let's say Josh wasn't here and my son Brandon was, he would get the front seat. Well, then when
And then
Brandon
so
got to a
on.
point he was driving, then Wesley got the front seat. And then Brittany was like, I was just the last to get the front seat. I said, you were last to be born. So that's the way we did things. Now, the only thing we did backwards
But that's such a
was
good way to do that though, because you're not causing an argument, and you're
they
that's the
always knew. They always
yeah.
knew.
My
It was
time's
net
eventually coming.
right. And they always knew, like, in other words, it cut down on, because you got to think with the rock paper scissors, every time they're going to be arguing, and then let's say one person wins every time, he always wins, then they're arguing the whole time and salty. Well, our kids just knew it to where when they went to the car, they just got in the order, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no
Whoever was
asking or
oldest got to
nothing.
front. Right. And that's the way it went in a lot of things. Now, when it come to Christmas and opening gifts, we liked them to open them one at a time because of, we wanted to video you and watch you, you know what I'm saying? And everybody get to enjoy your gifts instead of everybody throwing stuff at the same time. So
Yeah.
we did it youngest to oldest because the youngest couldn't wait. You know what I'm saying? They were like more excited.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happened was, let's say Brittany opened her presents, then the next in line, which was Wesley, he had to pick up her trash and bag it. And then when Wesley opened his presents, Brandon had to pick up his trash and
And
bag it.
so on
And
and
so
so,
forth. Yeah.
yeah.
So we had that order, but we tried to do that to keep some kind of order in the house. But
Right.
for me, when it comes to the relationship order, I always tried to be as fair as I could to my kids. But I also oftentimes put my husband last, and I regret that now.
Oh.
I do. I regret that. That's one of the things that I didn't do right, I think.
But when you say, like, I guess because I'm finding it like a little hard, not hard to understand, but like, what was so bad that put a rift with y'all, if you don't mind, like, sharing on the
Oh
podcast?
yeah, no,
Because I
no.
can't figure out, comprehend in my head what would be so bad that would put a rift between y'all. Because, like, what do you mean by, like, you
I
know what I mean?
I was a very lenient parent. So let's say, for instance, Ronnie struggled oftentimes was when I speak, I'm not being respected. When I say no, I'm not being respected. You have to understand, first of all, you have, and this is where I go in. I'm not trying to, don't take this wrong when I say it. I'm just being honest. It's kind of like when you go out in public and parents don't have kids and somebody's misbehaving and they're like, oh my God, they need to get a hold of their kids. Well, you're talking from a place you don't have kids, so you don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like, you have a child, you have JoJo, but I'm saying these people that don't have kids at all, they're more judgmental of people who do.
Yeah.
Okay, so for you, number one, you only have one kid, and number two, it's a girl, and girls are totally different to raise than boys.
Yes.
Boy, boys hit an age. I say every son is going to challenge his parents and challenge his father. They get that testosterone about them, and they're like, "I'm big and bad,
They
and
want
I
to
will."
buck up.
Yeah, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and you ain't gonna tell me what to do. Well, it was really bad with my boys because Ronnie was stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
So then they were like, I don't have to listen to you. You're not my dad.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like they hit that stage.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was, especially with Brandon, he was going through his testosterone testing stage. And every time him and Ronnie would get it, like Ronnie would say, Brandon, he may say, okay, I'll give you an example. He may say, don't do this. And Brandon would do it to spite him. And
Oh.
then when he would do it to spite him, then Ronnie would correct him. Brandon would come back with a smart mouth. They would go back and forth. And then I would end up stepping in between and taking Brandon's side. You see what I'm saying?
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
See, now, and just me, like, now, if that was me and I witnessed that, because there have been times where Jojo Ortiz, she's very, very protective of me.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very protective. So if anybody says anything to me, she's gonna go off on them, and she will say stuff to her dad. And there have been times where I'm like, "Hey, don't talk to your daddy like that."
Right.
So I have had to do that, So because I I let them have their battles and they deal with it on their own. But I also will correct her if I hear her talking to him some type of way or whatever, and I'll say, hey, don't talk to your daddy like that, or don't do that. But it's very rare that I have to do that with her. But again,
Mm-hmm.
because she is a girl,
Mm-hmm.
they're not gonna be how boys are.
Right, right. Well, he would get very disrespectful, and then I would step in the middle, and then I would take Brandon's side. And then it would just cause a rift between me and Ronnie. And
Oh.
I remember one time Brandon had stood up to Ronnie so many times, and they had, I mean, literally chest to chest. Okay.
Oh God.
Oh, yeah. And so one time I looked at Brandon. I had totally flipped switch, and I looked at him and I said, son, if you keep standing up to your dad like a man, then I'm going to let him treat you like a man. Y'all going to go in that yard and y'all going to have it out, and I'm not stepping in between you. From that day forward, he stopped because he knew I wasn't on his side.
Yeah.
And not because, let me say this, not because Brandon thought he would lose against his dad, which I think
Right.
at the time he would have. Now you put them up against each other now when Ronnie's almost going on 60 and Brandon's in his prime, which is his 30s, and he's a big dude. He could probably take Ronnie now. You know what I'm saying? Now
Yeah.
Ronnie, if he heard this podcast, he'd be like, hell the hell he can.
I'll lay him out.
Yeah, but he probably could now. But I'm saying, once he saw that, and he saw that I was no longer his defender, I think he changed his tune. Plus, he got older and he gained respect. Now, he loves and respects his dad now.
Oh.
But he went through a phase where he didn't. Now, he'll tell you in a heartbeat, he respects him. But, now Wesley never really went through that much. I never had the issue with him. Josh did. Ronnie's son, he did. But I will say that I really took the kids' side a little bit too much when they were growing up.
Oh, now I come from a family of three. My sister Mary, she's the oldest. She's 8 years older than me. Then you got my brother Larry. He is 3 years older than me. And then I'm the baby in the family. And he never did that either. Like, he never got that where he wanted to buck up to daddy and show out and things like that. Like, he wasn't like that either. And then um for me being like the baby of the family, there were times like my daddy would spoil me over, my other siblings and stuff. And, when you're little, you're like, oh, I got extra $5 for allowance or extra $10, or dad took me to the store and bought me a Yoo-hoo and stuff like that. And when you get older and you think about it, it's like, dang, that was kind of wrong. Or, like, you played a little bit of favorites right there and shouldn't have,
Right.
And that's one thing. If I had multiple kids, I would never play favorites. I would treat them all the same.
Right. Now I do. I will say that now, again, my kids may tell you different. I mean, I'm speaking for the way I felt. My kids have always asked me, who's your favorite? Who's your favorite? And I'm like, I don't have a favorite. I love you all the same. I like you different on different days.
Right.
So one day, it depends on which kid was acting up or which kid was getting in trouble at school. Like, if you're in trouble at school and you're acting up or you're getting a ticket or you wrecked your car, you are not my favorite today.
Not today. You had to piss mommy off.
You're on the least favorite list, So, but I loved them all the same. I'd die for any of them. But we didn't have, like I said, I don't feel like I ever played favorites.
Good, yeah.
But now you'll hear them all say different. Brandon will say Brittany's my favorite. Wesley will say Brandon's my favorite. Brittany will say Wesley was my favorite. They all thought each other was the favorite.
And in the whole time, it's been Ruger.
It's Ruger.
It's Ben Ruger.
I will say that he is the favorite child now, and everybody knows it.
They do.
I have to tell you, yesterday, Brittany called me, and I was telling her about our podcast, and y'all go back and watch that podcast. It's Test Your Morality Dark. It aired an episode ago. If you hadn't listened to it, you need to. But I told her what she was talking about choosing. But the cutting off the arms, and she knew that her and Mr. Ronnie be walking around with nubs to save Ruger.
She's like, we ain't got a fighting chance against Ruru.
Yeah, and then I asked her, I said, now, if I had to save Ruru or you or hit the wall, what would I do? And she said, I'd be dead.
Oh, God.
I said,
she's like, Mama, I know.
I told her I'd honestly take myself out in that situation. But I asked her, I said, now what about a baby in Ruger? She said, that poor baby.
Oh my God. I hope she watches that podcast. I think she'll enjoy it because that was
I
a
did
good one.
too.
It
It
was such
was.
a good one.
So, but yeah, we as far as like I said, relationship order, I honestly think. So let me ask you a question. You go on vacation. You can
Uh,
only afford to take one person. Are you taking Jason or JoJo?
Probably JoJo.
Yeah.
Because he's a homebody. That's
Oh,
the thing. Like, he is a homebody. So, hands down, because you see when I talk to you, me and JoJo's going here, me and JoJo's doing this, we're going there, da 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 da. We always ask, but he's at that age to where he's an old man and just wants to sit at
okay.
home.
Can we hypothetically speak and say that JoJo and Jason both wanted to go equally, and you only had money for one of them to go? Which one would you take?
It would be her because he would tell me to take her. Even though he'd want to go, he'd be like, just take her.
But what if he didn't? What if he really wanted to go and say she could stay home this time?
Where would we be going though?
The beach. A romantic trip to the beach for you and him. And he really wants to go. It's your anniversary and he really wants to go. And JoJo really, really wants to go. I
Well,
mean, just
see,
play along with me for a minute.
I'm so trying, but it's hard because if it's our anniversary, JoJo would say, no, leave me at home. You and Daddy need to go and have this weekend for yourself.
But
So if it was that,
we're hypothetically speaking, meaning they both are fighting to go equally. They both say, no, I want to go. I really want to go. And you really only don't be like, I'm going to get alone. Don't be like, I just wouldn't go at all. You have to pick one. I want to hear who it is.
well, because of what it is and because I know how my family is, I would take him because it's our anniversary and it's a romantic getaway and I know she'd be okay with it. So I would pick him.
Well, I will tell you, coming from having done it before, I would choose my husband every time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I do in some things, but again, like I said, for the most part, I don't have that. That's not a problem for us that we have to deal with. Thank God. Sorry, I was
Yeah,
leaning over and scratching my leg.
that's okay. Right. Well, and that's good. I mean, that's a good thing. But for y'all, anybody listening in on this, do y'all have that issue? Or do you find that you're not putting your spouse first? Does it cause problems? Does your kids cause disruptions in your marriage? Because, like I said, I went through a lot of years in my marriage from probably the time my boys hit 14 or 15 up until they were 19, about
Would
five
you say
years.
that's when it started? Like when they were 14 was when you started just butting
Probably
like
around that
heads?
age. I mean, it was always an issue because my boys were always testy. They always was testy.
Yeah.
But I would say when it hit the teenage years, it was the worst.
And yours might have been like that too because you have boys. You know, you have more boys than girls.
Yeah, we had three
And
boys.
yeah, so I can understand where you're coming from. You know, boys are more hard headed and, you know, they think they can rule the world and move mountains at that age. So I completely, understand that.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, I mean, y'all put it in the comments, drop it in the comments. How do you feel? What's your relationship order? If you have children of different ages, they're not like all twins or all triplets. How do you determine the order of who gets shotgun? Do you do oldest to youngest and things like that? We'd love to hear that. We
We
hope y'all been able
would.
to take something from this podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We got 3 series: Ask Bridget and Holly, Confessions, and Settle the Argument. If you have any of those, email us at bridgetandholly@gmail.com. But y'all make sure you tune in every Tuesday and Friday at 11 p.m. And we love y'all.
Y'all have a good night.
Bye.